welcome Kailey to the podcast. I'm so grateful to have you here. To start off, I've just been asking everyone this one little question that kind of has to go with just my brand all around authenticity. But what would you say makes you feel most connected to your authentic power?
Oh my God. What a great question to start us out. Wow. What makes me feel most connected to my authentic power? I'd have to say, I feel most myself and most connected to my power when I am sharing and expressing with my words. I love communicating. I love having conversations, doing things like this, like podcasting, sharing with my voice really allows me to drop into this authenticity space. It feels like easy and natural and not like I'm forcing anything or trying to create something or script something out. It's a place where I can like really drop back and relax into it.
I love that. Yeah, just like a natural medium where it just flows through you with that self-expression. That is so beautiful. So, Kaylee is a manifestation expert. I started following her, I think about a month ago, and I just am obsessed with your content. I love your one phrase that you say all the time, which is like every day is the best day ever, and how can we make every day the best day ever? And I would just love if you could share a little bit more of like how that kind of came to be, how you really got this phrase to be a part of your life, how you really just started to embody it more, like what was kind of the journey to creating that best day ever game and mentality.
This is this is so good. I actually haven't got to talk about this yet, so it's really exciting for me. Um, this came about like I've heard best day ever, like I've seen stickers of it on people's car, and like I've just like never thought anything of it. But then I heard someone talking about this in like a podcast, and they were talking about how they like made it kind of they did a meditation. That's what it was. And it was like envisioning that this is your last day on earth and that you're about to leave into a different whatever is next, but you have one more day. You have one more day and then snap, you wake up and today is that day. And um that you know that today is the best day ever because you've got this like last chance to go live it out, but you don't know why today is the best day ever. And so you go about looking for why today is the best day ever. Um and essentially like I heard that idea on a podcast of this meditation to kind of just like drop you into like a higher frequency. And then I was like, well, what if you actually like played that? And so when I first started doing it, I was just like, this is silly. Like every day can't be the best day ever. I had my doubts. I was just like, that's ridiculous. Some days just kind of suck and like that's okay. And I was trying to honoring like feel all your feelings and don't bypass emotions. All of those things came to me. But then I started playing it and I started living out like, okay, what if I just like had to find something that made today the best day ever? And I went for searching for it. And it started off like little tiny things. Like I would see a flower and be like, oh, today is the best day ever. And I would just make that the reason why today was the best day ever. And then what began to happen is I did it more and more and more. And I looked into like the neuroscience behind it because that's what I do as a manifestation coach is look into the neuroscience behind why this is happening in the way that it does. And I found that there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system that is constantly looking for evidence to prove that your current belief systems are true. And so, in searching for why today is the best day ever, what I began to do was create a new belief that every single day is the best day ever. And then what happens is at a certain point, my reticular activating system works on autopilot, where it will do the evidence seeking for me. And then, boom, this like miraculous thing comes in front of me. And I'm like, what? How did this even happen? Like, how crazy is this? And of course, too, like there's this aspect of like the placebo effect, I guess you could say, is like of course, I'm finding it if that's what I'm searching for, but also what a great accident to happen, you know? So I came across it, thought it was like a little bit BS, like not gonna work, and then just thought like what is there to lose? I might as well go for this. And now I've had multiple days where my mind was absolutely blown. Like I have one video where I came across jellyfish, and I just thought that was the craziest thing. I don't really live in a place where I see jellyfish often, so coming across a bunch of jellyfish like really lit me up, and then some other miraculous things have happened here and there. But yeah, it started off as a joke to me, and now it's kind of taken my life by storm. And I am like, well, what a great mindset to have, you know, that even on days that are tough, you know, how can I still find that today is the best day ever?
I think that's such a great mentality to have too. And I really love that it started just from seeing a flower and being like, you know what, like today's the best day ever because I saw a flower today and I got to like experience its beauty. Like, I just think that's so cool that it started from you being like, this is stupid, don't know if this will actually work. But I feel like that's the best like way to start things when you don't really have the attachment to it and you're like, I'll just like see what happens. And I like how you word it as a game too. And like it's kind of like an experiment with yourself because then you're not really so focused on the outcome. You're just like, oh, I'll just see what happens. And I love that. I love that you've just created living your life around just having the best day ever, whether it's like you're going through something or you're experiencing all these incredible things happening in a day, like you really can make the most of it. And I think that that's like such a key aspect of that. And we were even talking before we started recording on this of like what you can do if you're feeling down. Like I was saying, I was experiencing some brain fog today, and sometimes you just don't feel as high energy, as motivated as we do as humans. We go through the ebbs and flows, and especially as women too. And so I'd love to just hear a little bit about like what you do for yourself personally if you're having days where you're going through tougher emotions, going through some mental overwhelm or brain fog, like what has really helped you with continuing that best day ever mentality kind of through all the ups and downs of being a human?
Yeah, this is a really, really great question. I've actually had this question a lot because it's like, it's one thing to see a video of me like so stoked, like today is the best day ever, here's why. And then like what I don't show though is like I when I'm crying and I'm having a really tough time, I don't necessarily feel like recording that and like sharing it. So it is to me really important to share like how is it that I navigate? How is it that it's possible to navigate still experiencing this best day ever mentality even when you're going through it? So I like to correlate this best day ever mentality kind of with the capacity to feel joy in your body. Because if you're not capable of accessing joy, it's going to be really hard to feel stoked about anything, right?
Yeah.
So then the way that I treat experiencing joy within the body is like it's just like a muscle. Um, if you let's say like if you go to the gym and you're feeling like so energetic and so stoked, you're gonna get like your personal record on, let's say, like biceps or something. And you have so much energy that you go and you get your personal record and you're so stoked and you're like, yes, like today is the day. I knew I was gonna hit it. You come back, whatever, do your thing. The next day, you're not gonna be like, let's go for another personal record. You just worked your body to the fullest. You're gonna be like, maybe today's a rest day. Maybe we move a little slower today. I'll still go, but I'm just gonna stretch or I'm gonna focus on something else, right? Um, but then we go into life and go into experiencing this happiness and joy, and one day we'll feel it and it'll feel so good and so big. And the next day it might not feel as good, and then you're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not feeling like I did yesterday? But again, putting joy as this muscle It's like on days when we have this energy to be able to show up and hit our PR, you go and show up with your all. So that means like expressing even louder or doing a dance or whatever capacity. When you begin to feel this joy inside of you, it's very important to turn it up to 12 because what you're doing is you're expanding your capacity to feel more and hold more joy within you. So that on days when you might feel this joy within you, it's going to be so easy to figure out why today is the best day ever. And what this does is so that on these days when you have this energy, it's so important to turn it up so much because that means that on days when you don't feel like you don't feel a lot of energy, you're kind of feeling a little lower, what happens is because you push so hard on that day, now your new normal is leveled up a little bit so that the hard days still might feel hard, but your capacity has expanded because you pushed really hard on that day. And what it also means is just like going to the gym, the next day we took a rest day. Not necessarily like it's going to go in order, like you have a really happy day and then you have a sad day, but just like the ebbs and flows. When an ebb does happen, it's not like, oh no, what's wrong with me? I can't access joy anymore. It's gone completely. No, it's not gone. It's here. We're just witnessing it in a smaller capacity today. So the invitation then is not to be like, oh, it's gone forever. I'm not going to feel it again. And kind of like limit your access to ever experiencing it just because today might be harder. But instead, it's like similar to that little flower. How can I begin to find like the smallest piece of evidence that today is the best day ever? Even if I don't have a ton of this joy and excitement within me. So that's like on some days, like when I'm really struggling, that's like today is the best day ever because I made my bed. You know, like
The very little things, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And what that does is like keeps that level of consistency so that you're training your mind that even on tough days, we always find why today is the best day ever. We always find something to be grateful for. So it could be just like finding one thing to be grateful for today, or finding one thing, one reason why today is the best day ever. And that level of consistency, again, like that's what is training your brain, training your mind to be able to witness and experience it not only every day, but at greater and greater capacities. And the more that you hold it, the more easily accessible it is to move from like tougher emotions into this back again, like
Yeah.
usually it might be like an ebb might last like a week and then you get into the flow and then an ebb happens again. But the more you practice like holding this higher frequency, I guess you could say, or just like the feeling of joy, the more easily accessible it is to be like, okay, I'm in an ebb right now, but I can trust that I will come out of it because I'm finding small pieces of evidence why it's even here in the midst of the chaos. And then because you can surrender into that, it allows you to move into the flow more easily, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so powerful, just creating like more of a space, more of a container for that joy too. I really love what you said just about like amplifying and turning it up when you actually experience it because yeah, your cells in your body, like they're so smart, they're so wise, and they'll remember that feeling. And I think like the more that you connect to that, the more that you can go back to that. And obviously, you're not going to be an absolute 10 out of 10 every single day,
Right.
but if you start to normalize that joy within yourself and find it in more things and really see that evidence, like life just becomes more joyful, which I think is just so beautiful. And I think it's so cool that we can train ourselves to do that. And something that I thought of while you were talking is if you have any advice for people who are like overachievers and people who are very hard on themselves, because I know like life is linear, we have our ebbs and flows, but sometimes we get so caught up in the doing all the time and we get caught up in not finding that evidence that we really want to see and seeing the little things as like too little, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally resonate with this. I actually, one of my limiting beliefs and kind of something that I'm still working on navigating and building in me is that I'm not doing enough. That
Me too.
limiting
Yep.
belief. What a silly one, right? Because everything is working on perfect harmony, and I feel like for overachievers especially, this belief of I'm not doing enough is kind of like the one that makes you feel like those things that you're doing or the evidence that you're finding is not good enough. It's not
Yes.
big enough, you
Yeah.
know? So actually my recommendation for overachievers or people that are like, I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more, is to stop doing. Basically.
Exact answer
Um,
we do not want.
right. But essentially it's like looking at your to-do list, everything that you have to do, and seeing what's actually a priority. A lot of things that are on your to-do list, are not things that you actually need to be doing. And beginning to celebrate all of the tiny things. So one of the things that I do with my clients is like I tell them to like completely strip their to-do list just for like a day or two. Don't focus on what you have to do and literally do the bare minimum of like waking up in the morning, going brushing your teeth, like the bare minimum, and everything you do, celebrating it, celebrating waking up, making your bed, putting on clothes, brushing your teeth, like the bare minimum, everything gets celebrated because then what happens is you begin to build this like foundational worthiness of I am worthy to be celebrated for who I am, just like the bare minimum. I am worthy of everything that I desire just because of who I am. And then once we kind of build that like okay, I can celebrate myself for the little things, then adding on just the main priorities. What are the things you have to do on your to-do list? And having a separate section of like the have tos, like I actually have to go to work today. I have to do this thing. And then having a designated separate section for things that you don't have to do. And now, even if you think you have to do them, you don't have to do them. And those are all extra credit. Everything
Like that.
that you don't have to do is extra credit. And what that does is that like boosts that dopamine response because it's like, dang, I didn't have to do that and I did it. And what that does is tells your brain that you're worthy of being congratulated for all of those things. So then what begins to happen over time is you move from this place of feeling like you have to do more to be able to be successful, to now you're in this place of abundance of like, wow, look at how much I accomplished today. Look how easy it was for me to accomplish those things. And you then feel like you get to. Then tomorrow it doesn't feel like you have to do all these things. You only have to do those three priorities. Everything else is a get to. And when you're moving from that place of abundance versus the scarcity and lack, you'll find that things feel like easy and more fun. And when you're moving from abundance, that's when like miracles and opportunities and things come your way that you're like, wow, how did that even happen? And it's because you're expecting good things to happen to you because you're operating from that place of abundance. So I hope that was kind of a long-winded answer to be like, do less, but do less. I mean, honestly, kind of like do the same that you're doing, but reframe it to now everything that you're doing, most of it is like actually extra credit, and you can find ways to celebrate yourself in each of those.
Yeah, I really like that. I like how you phrase it from like the have to and then the get to. Because when you say get to, like that just puts a lot more gratitude around that too, being like, oh, like I actually get to work on my business. Like I actually get to like go on a walk in nature, whatever it is. And I think it just makes you feel more grateful and it makes it feel more like a blessing and more like a piece of evidence for it to be the best day ever, which I think just is so cool and kind of brings it all together. And as you were talking about like celebrating yourself, that's personally been something for myself that has felt so hard to do as someone who's just been so self-critical for most of my life. And it's something that I've worked so hard on, and it's become like I've become so much more compassionate towards myself, which I'm like really proud of myself for. And I remember hearing on a podcast someone saying like kind of a similar thing of like just being proud of yourself for those tiny things. Like literally like I got out of bed today. I brushed my teeth. I think just starting there is so powerful. And I would used to write just things I was proud of myself for at the end of each day. And I would make myself find five things, even if I thought I did like air quotes, nothing today, but
Yeah.
like purposely finding those things. And it kind of forces you to be like, oh, see, I actually like did show up for myself today, even if it wasn't in these crazy ways. And this kind of leads me into another thing that I'm curious about is there's so much stuff we see on social media, so much comparison that happens of people living these crazy lives and like manifesting all these amazing things. What is your take on just comparison and people just thinking they're not doing enough, kind of from that perspective of seeing like, oh, well, these people are here, and all these messages on social media being like, oh, well, you just need to work harder and you're clearly not disciplined enough. Just like, what's your take on that? I'd love to hear.
Oh, I have a really, really um, expansive perspective on this. I think you're gonna love to hear it.
Mhm.
So I think that, you know, the quote, like, comparison will kill you.
Mhm.
Tough, tough. And I still deal with comparison and even jealousy and stuff like that comes up. But I think that comparison and jealousy is actually not so bad. I think that it's here to show us what it is that we are truly desiring. What a beautiful thing. And you cannot see within someone else, what you don't have within yourself. So if you're seeing someone and you're like, wow, they're so funny or they're like so talented in this specific way, the only way that you can see that is if you have a part of that within yourself. So then, if that's true, when you see someone living the life that you want to live, what happens is there's two options. It could be like comparison will kill you, where you're in this like scarcity mindset and you think that's not possible for me. And so you see someone living this life and it's like, dang, I can't have that. That sucks that they have that and I don't have that. But when you allow yourself to move into this abundance mindset, you see someone living that life and you're like, wow, if that exists, that means that I can have that. Not only that, if this exists and I'm seeing it, it's on my feed right now. That means that it's within my field. That means that I'm actually this much closer to actually having that reality in my life. And so every time you feel this like jealousy coming up within you or like this comparison of I don't have enough, I'm not doing it enough, that is an invitation. It's an invitation to walk through a door where you actually move into this frequency of abundance and you're like, oh wait, this is evidence. Everything can be evidence if you let it. This is evidence that I'm just that much closer. And like a real life example of this is like I have this dream car. I want a Toyota Tacoma really badly.
Mm.
I could see people driving Toyotas on the road and be like, "Oh, I want one of those. Why can't I have one of those? Like, who's that person? Like, what they do to get that car?" I could, but instead, what I'm doing is every time I see a Toyota, which like they're everywhere, so this is really great ways to find evidence. Every time I see it, I'm like, sick. I'm that much closer. Or I'll see like the exact color in the exact model, and I'm like, dude, if I'm seeing that right now, that means that mine is like on its way to me. It's coming closer. So I really see jealousy and comparison as like opportunities to up level and step into this version of you that actually sees that as evidence and that you're this much closer to being able to have that as your reality now.
I love that. I've heard so many people talk about that before, but I really like how you added like when you start to kind of witness it more, like either on your feed or like what you're saying of cars just driving past you of the one that you want, like it means you're that much closer and that the universe is kind of like, hey, like it's in your field now, like here's your opportunity, like we're showing you that it's possible. I think that that's such a great way of looking at it. And like I've never heard someone explain it like that before. So I just love that so much. And I really love how you say everything is evidence too, because like perspective really is absolutely everything, especially when it comes to manifestation. And kind of to tie in with all the like manifestation work that you do you have like any practices that you think go really well with this work? Kind of help people kind of disconnect from the outcome a little bit too, because I know that a lot of people try to force, like for myself, we were talking a little bit about force earlier, and I was saying my mind keeps telling me I need to stop forcing. Like, do you have anything that you do if you're too attached to an outcome or that you kind of use to like help people through that too, like any practices?
Yeah, I have a few things that come up when you say this. The first is that this idea that it's just a game, that it's just a game. It takes so much of the pressure off of it. If it's just a game or just an experiment, you're just playing. You're playing and you're finding evidence just for fun because like worst case scenario, your life is stays the same and you're surviving right now. Like you're surviving, maybe you're thriving, you know? You're okay right now. That's how it is. So then everything is a cherry on top. If you can adopt that mentality that everything is a cherry on top, you don't need it because you're good right now. You're good. Everything is a cherry on top, then like things start to come so easy. Because if it's not a cherry on top and you need it, you're in the frequency of I need it. I need it, which means what? That means you don't have it. And if you're operating from this place of I need it and I don't have it right now, you don't attract what you want or what you need, you attract what you are. And so that's why this idea of like finding evidence, that's like the only way this works. Is if you find evidence that it's actually here now. Because if it's not here now, it's never going to be here. You know, like if you always need it, if you always want it, if you always have that like grasping feeling, you're just going to create more of that. And like a real life example of this is like if someone is like, I need to be more successful, I need to be more successful, they could actually manifest success. They could create success, you know, like hard work and grinding does exist in this 3D reality. They could make a bunch of money. But what's not going to change is that they will always feel like they need more success. They could be a billionaire and they're not going to feel content. So that's why oh my God, I love this work so much. It's so important because it's like how you find peace is finding it within your life right now. And again, like that could be the smallest thing. So, actually, just for like the sake of moving through this together, what is something that you want to manifest? And I'd love to workshop like how we can find evidence for it right now.
Ooh. Amazing. Right now, a big thing for myself is just like finding clarity on like what I want to offer within my business and also just like growing my social media. I would say those are like my main two things right now.
Okay, sweet. Let's focus on the growing on social media because I actually just did an experiment with this. So the way that I go about this manifestation process and make it a game is instead of finding an affirmation, so like what that would be is like I have 10,000 followers on Instagram. That's an affirmation.
Mhm.
Doesn't work because that's not true. I don't have 10,000 followers on Instagram right now. And so then what happens is this goes to my belief system, my subconscious, and my subconscious is like, that's not true. And it tells me all of the evidence for why that's not true, which then elicits this fear response and actually puts me into fight or flight, which does not help me attract 10,000 followers. So then, instead of finding an affirmation, what you do is you find a brain rewiring statement that you can actually prove to be true. So, the one that I actually used for this exact thing was I'm gaining more exposure every day. Because then it also didn't necessarily have to do with Instagram. Like, that could be in multiple different facets of my life because truthfully at the time, I mean, I had like not I had a good amount of followers, but I wasn't getting much interaction. So I was just like, uh, let me just put a vague one so that I could put anything in it. So then what I did was like I started celebrating the tiniest wins. And Instagram social media is a really beautiful place to do this because people bypass like one person liked your photo. One person liked your photo. Like that's a piece of evidence. And how many how many people are liking your photo or your reel or sharing or saving? Like there's so many different. Someone DM'd you, someone followed you. There's so many different opportunities to find pieces of evidence here. So what I'd recommend for you then is to create that list of like I find more or I'm getting more exposure every day. And when I started this list, I literally was like, two people saved my reel. And I was like, I got a follower. It was literally like, this was like a month ago, maybe like a month and a half ago now. This is how it started. And one day I didn't even have anything to write for Instagram. So I put like, I got a new client, which felt like exposure to me, but I couldn't even find anything for that day. And then what began to happen is I began to embody this version of me that knows this belief that I have more exposure. And now, I mean, I went from 2,300 followers to now I have 8,200 followers within a
Huh,
month and a
right?
half. So it works, like I now have evidence that like this method of creating a list and finding evidence works. This is literally training your reticular activating system. So I highly recommend doing that and just treating it like a game?
Hmm. Yeah, I love that so much. And I was actually watching a reel of yours before this. I think it was the one that you posted today on finding evidence. And I even thought like, oh my gosh, like I was thinking about my social media and I was thinking like, you know what? I've gotten so much more engagement lately, like not followers, but engagement lately. I'm like, you know what? Like that's evidence right there. So I really love that this just kind of came full circle right now. We got to talk about that. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing more of that. And for anyone who's listening too, like just really asking yourself, like what are your biggest goals? What's your thing you're working towards right now? And how can you find evidence every day? Like I'm going to create a whole little practice around this every day. Like every night, it's like, what's the evidence today? Which I love so much.
I literally have so like on I have notes on my phone and I have an album and it's called Kailey's Cheat Code. And I'll just like share it with you guys. Share my beliefs that I'm trying to instill right now. So I have 5 different beliefs that I'm trying to instill and I add to this list every single day. Again, sometimes I only have like one thing for each. Sometimes I'm like boom, boom, boom. I got this and this and this. Every day is different. One of them is that one. I'm getting more exposure every day. One of them is I'm always doing more than enough to get the exact results I desire or better
Ooh,
because
that
of
one.
that feeling like sometimes I'm not doing enough, trying to like swipe that one out. And then every day I see more money all around me. Just simple as that. Um, and that one is unique because it's not like not necessarily like I see money coming into my bank. Like I see money like I have $1,000 phone or something, $800 phone in my hand. It doesn't necessarily have to be cash in your bank. It's like I'm living in a house right now. I live in Southern California. These are all things that are money. And if you see more of it, guess what happens? You attract more of it.
Yeah.
So, and then I have a list that's just what I value about myself because I recognize that the more that I value myself, the more that other people value me. And especially in this like service industry, it's important for people to value you. So, increasing that. And then I have one that's called Synced Up and it says miracles upon miracles. And I just write down all the miracles that happen within the day. And sometimes it's just like an angel number, or sometimes it's like something really, really unique and cool, or like the synchronistic event happened. It's again like creating creating this opportunity for my brain to just naturally seek miracles.
Yeah, I have a note in my phone as well. That's just like it's just called signs, and it's just anything that I like see as a sign from the universe too. Like yeah, like angel numbers, different animals, like messages on a billboard. I'll just like write those all down too. But I really like that you've taken like your own kind of version of an affirmation of something that just is already true and just finding more evidence around that. Because I think that a lot of people get really caught up in the specifics of manifestation. Like I know for myself, like I've gotten caught up in that as well of thinking like I need to be super specific to get what I want and kind of getting overwhelmed by not knowing exactly what I want sometimes. But I really like that you kind of shifted it into a little more vague, but it still like goes with what you want to manifest. Like if you had to kind of give advice on like just setting goals and setting these things that you want to manifest into your life, what would you say has kind of like worked the best for yourself?
This is like so perfect, and I really, again, resonate with that. Like, so first, I want to mention that there are two kinds of manifestors. There are specific manifestors and non-specific manifestors. And if you know anything about human design, or if you want to know more about it, you can look into your human design on just like humandesign.com. Figure out if you're a non-specific or a specific manifestor. So there are people that are meant to like see a whole vision of their house or see exactly what their partnership is going to look like or know exactly what the kind of car or whatever it is. Like they get the vision and they know exactly what it is that they want. And then there are manifestors who are like, I don't know, but I can feel what it would feel like.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's all you have to know. So the the fun part about this is that if you're a specific manifester, what you're doing is you're seeing the vision and then you're feeling the feeling. And then you're accessing that feeling in this now moment and finding evidence that that feeling is true right now. If you are a non-specific manifester, you are just feeling the feeling and finding evidence for why that's true right now. So it's like it honestly like the I have now kind of specified specific things that like I found out what kind of car that I want or how
Mhm.
much money I want to make or how many followers I want to have. These are like these like small ones, you know? Beyond that, what I'm manifesting is freedom. Like freedom from suffering, financial freedom, location freedom, the ability to do whatever I want. That is what I want. And I
Mm.
know what that feels like. I know what freedom feels like. I think we all do. If you've ever experienced, like, I don't know, like anything where you're feeling just like on top of the world, that's freedom, you know? So then it's like, if I want that, how do I begin to find evidence that that's true right now? How do I begin to experience that in my life right now? Um, yeah, so honestly, if you, especially like, if you're struggling, like you don't know what it is that you want, specifically, just get really clear on what that feeling is and begin to create more of that in your current reality. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And as someone who does like a lot of embodiment work, like the feeling, I'm always like, I love whenever we talk about the feeling because I just think it's so powerful. And for myself, I'm actually think I'm a specific one if I remember my human design correctly. But I remember learning that and being like, no. And instantly I was like, I don't want to have to know specifically what I want to manifest. But it's crazy because I think back to all the like times I've done visualization and I do see it so clearly. So now it's like kind of starting to click again in my mind. But yeah, I just think it's so cool to I don't like how it always comes back to the feeling, like whether you're specific or whether you're not specific, either way, it's connecting to that one feeling. So do you think it's like I always say it's like you pick one feeling kind of centered around like that version you want to be and that version that like is available within you already and like you said like you already know what freedom feels like and it's just continuously like pulling more evidence from around you. So picking a feeling you've experienced before and just kind of connecting to that feeling as much as possible. That I always like have thought of it kind of in the same way as well. And I've like picked peace for my feeling, just like peace of mind, kind of similar with freedom of like feeling like stable and secure, like financially as well, just feeling so much peace in my career and just everything kind of surrounding that. Would you say like that's just a good like first place for people to go is kind of picking what feeling that would represent for them.
Yeah, 100%. I think just honestly, like dreaming the dream. I think a lot of people are honestly afraid or don't know how to dream the dream. So getting comfortable just like sitting and like feeling into what is it that if money and time and resources were unlimited and I could create whatever I wanted in this lifetime, what do I want? And again, not feeling the pressure of like, I have to make it happen right now. Like, don't add any of that, but just feel like, what is it that I want right now? What is it that I want to create in this life? I have my whole life to create it. No pressure, no time. What could I possibly want? And like, actually, what I imagine too is you'll notice is even as soon as you begin to dream the dream, what'll happen is like, you can't have that. But what about this? But what about this? You don't have enough money. You don't have enough. All these things will come in. And just like for the time being, like, you know what? That's okay. We're gonna set these down for now and just allow yourself to dream that dream and feel into it. And yeah, coming to an emotion of like, what is it that it really feels like to live that life that I'm so desiring? And then it could be, so if it's like peace, that's an emotion. Okay, now what are things, what are activities that allow you to feel that peace? Okay, how can you just incorporate one of those? Whether it be like meditation or like going on a swing or going on a walk in the park, if you know that brings you peace, you don't have to have everything figured out and all of the things lined up. It's just like going for a walk, even if it's once a week. That's evidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was so well said. And I think something I also just wonder about, and I'm sure a lot of other people do, is like trusting the process in this and like trusting, I guess, yourself as you're going through this, as you like find more evidence. Do you think that just like looking for the evidence is a huge part of that, or is there anything else within that that you've kind of found that has helped you to like trust yourself more and trust that when you connect to that feeling more, like that's what you're going to get more of, kind of?
Yeah, I actually have an entire practice around this. And it's this idea that we have like a trust bank. It's like thinking of like a physical bank.
Yeah.
And what happens is when you do what you say you're going to do. So let's say, like, I know that I feel more peace when I go on a walk. I need to go on a walk. You add it to tomorrow's agenda. I'm going to go on a walk. You go on a walk. Boom. You add trust to your trust bank. And then what happens over time is you begin to add more little pieces of evidence to your trust bank. And then once you're like up to here, not only you really trust yourself that you are taking action on these things, and what happens when you take action on the things you say you're going to do, you can take bigger risks. So you can do things that scare you because you now trust that you will follow through. But on the opposite side, if you put on your agenda, I'm going to go for a walk tomorrow, and then you don't, you can lose trust in your trust bank. And then you also lose faith in your ability to manifest your own reality. You lose faith in your ability to create your own reality. So for this reason, I suggest that you do not ever add way too many things on your to-do list or what you have to do. Like that's why the practice of like everything else is extra credit is so important because that is a part of building your trust within yourself to create your reality. Otherwise, if you're constantly saying like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this and you never follow through with it, you're diminishing your capacity to trust that the fact that you are creating.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes so much sense too. Like I used to do that so much where I'd give myself the longest to-do list ever and only get to like a couple of the things because like let's be real, it was so unrealistic the amount of things I thought I
Yeah.
could do in a day. But then yeah, it definitely did like make me lose trust in myself because I was like, oh, well, like I said I would do all these things and I only did like four of them. So I could say I could do it tomorrow, but now I'm like, am I really gonna do it tomorrow? So I think that's such a great way of looking at it and a great way of showing up is like, okay, I'm committing to these certain things, and these other things are just like if I have the time, I'll get to them. And they're just, yeah, like what you said, extra credit, which I really like too, and like being the little cherry on top as well. And I just love that. I feel like we've brought all these topics together so well, and I feel like this has been such an amazing conversation and just like so enlightening for myself too. So just thank you for like supporting me as well through this conversation. And I would just love to know, it's kind of like my last question that I ask is like if there's anything, like any message that you feel is like something that you really want to share right now, like something that's just like so to the core of your being that you're like, this is my message that I just like want to share with everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like kind of, I think it might be a little controversial, but for that reason, I like it a lot. And it's just that it can be easier.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
it can be so much easier than we're making it when we actually follow our passions, follow our alignment, follow our hearts, and trust and truly surrender to what is. You start to see that everything is actually happening for you and not to you. And when you move from victimhood, you can enter into creatorship and you can begin creating this life that you desire. And I would love if more people would be willing and desire to step into that mentality that it can be easier, that there are challenges, but if you witness them and recognize that everything is happening for you, then that challenge was gifted to you for you to step into this next version of yourself.
Yeah. Oh, beautifully said. I love that so much. I always hear the word simplify. Like I can just like when I'm just going into overthinking, I'm like, simplify. Like it doesn't have to be this hard. And it really is easier than we think. Whenever I go back and I like really go through things and kind of like either journal it out or meditate or take a deep breath, like it does get clear. It does get easier. And that's just great evidence to show that. So thank you again, Kailey, so much. I'm so grateful for you making the time today. And if you just want to share like where people can find you and how they can work with you as well.
Yeah, I am Manifest with Kailey on Instagram. I also Manifest with Kailey on YouTube. And I have a free Love Your Life manifestation workshop where I really dive into all of these topics and teach you how to fall in love with your life through this subconscious rewiring method. And then from there, you'll be able to find more offerings.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.